guys, welcome back to my video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, so we're just gonna jump right into the video. So around this time, I was talking to a guy, and we're just gonna name him Wayne for the sake of this video. So me and Wayne, we met online. Now up until this point, we have been texting each other, talking on the phone and stuff like that. So it wasn't really like anything serious or anything like that, being that he lived in New York and I lived in Maryland. So some time is going by, and now we're having conversations that are kind of like what would happen if we would like develop into something serious, being that he lived in New York and that I lived in Maryland. So we're having conversations about that, and I'm telling him like, oh, it would be nothing for me to catch a flight, this, that, and the third, right? Because, and that's how I feel about like, just long distance relationships in general. Like, I feel like if two people want to be together and, both of them are putting in like the equal amount of effort, then, it should work. So that's pretty much what I was telling Wayne. So I asked him if he had ever been to Maryland before, and he was like, no, I never really been there. Like, how is it there? And I was telling him that where I lived, it was like a small town, so there wasn't really too much going on. There wasn't really anything to do for the most part, but like, in like the city towards like Baltimore and like Towson and stuff like that, like there would be like a lot more things to do and stuff like that. So he asked me if I had ever been to New York. So I told him that I had been to Manhattan, but I had never like stayed in New York or anything like that. And even for the times that I had went to Manhattan, up until this point, I had went like twice. And it was for like one time I went to like an event. And another time I went there to like shop. I left that morning, went to New York, and literally drove back the exact same day. So it's like I went there for like to do whatever I was gonna do, and then I left. So he was telling me, he was like, oh, well, if me and you were to, start talking seriously and get into a relationship, like I would want for you to move out here. Like I wouldn't want for us to make the commute back and forth. Like maybe like I come to Maryland and like you come out here and like, stuff like that. So I guess he was thinking more so into like a long-term tense. So I was like, oh yeah, I never really lived in New York or nothing like that. So, I would have to see, like, I can't just give you a definite answer right now and be like, if we start talking seriously and this develops into something, then oh yeah, like I'm definitely gonna move. Like, like I didn't want to say that. So he was telling me that he lived in a 1-bedroom apartment, and he was like, why don't you come out here for like the weekend and see how it is? And so I'm like, okay, why not? I mean, I need me a little vacation. Sure, I don't mind. So I book a flight, right? So I book a flight to go to New York for the weekend. I was gonna leave on Friday, stay there Saturday, and then fly back Sunday night. So that was pretty much my whole plan. So I went ahead and booked my flight, started packing and everything like that. So once I like gave him my flight information, what time my flight was, what time I was gonna land, all that, he was just like, all right, well, let me know like when you're about to board your flight so that I can be on my way to the airport, and I'm gonna come get you from the airport. Now mind you, the airport that I was flying into was Syracuse, and he lived like maybe 45 minutes to an hour away from the Syracuse airport. So I'm like, all right, cool, no problem. So however, on the day of my flight, I don't know what happened. Like I don't remember, because it was so long ago, so I don't remember if I overslept or if I was just running late, but I end up missing my flight. So I missed my flight. Now mind you, the flight that I booked, it was I think they call it like a connecting flight. So I was going to leave the airport, like leave BWI, then fly to Charlotte, North Carolina, and then fly to New York. So the flight from BWI to Charlotte, I ended up missing that flight. So when I was talking to, I don't know what they're called, but like, you know, the people that that be like behind the desk, like announcing when like you're bored, when your flight is about to board, like those people. So when I was talking to them, they were like, they were like that they could put me on the next flight, but it was gonna be a standby seat basically. And for those of you that don't know what I think it's called, like a standby seat is pretty much like for, so if you miss your flight and you have to take the next flight, so standby is pretty much for people who I guess paid for seats, like paid for the flight, but then something happened and they ended up not showing up, so that seat is free. Like that's basically what a standby seat is. Like you're getting someone's seat because they didn't show up or something. So I was like, okay, cool. So boom, and with me getting that standby flight, I could potentially still make my other flight going from Charlotte to New York. So the next flight comes, I get on the flight to go from Baltimore to Charlotte. So I get to Charlotte, I land in Charlotte. However, when I land in Charlotte, I'm now talking to the people that are at that airport, and because I'm about to board the Charlotte flight to go to New York. However, when I'm talking to them, they're telling me like that flight was all booked up. Everybody that had booked that flight had already been checked in, and that there were no more seats for that flight, and there was also no more flights going out. Like there's no more flights from Charlotte from Charlotte to New York. So now I'm like, what? Are you serious? Like, oh my god, this is so inconvenient. But no, for real. So they're telling me that I could either like buy another ticket and like basically fly somewhere else to get on another flight to go to New York, or I could wait until the morning and they could put me on another flight. Like they could switch my flight, put me on a flight for the morning, and I could just fly out to New York in the morning, which would be Saturday, because keep in mind now it's Friday. So I decided that that's what I was gonna do, because I mean, why, like my whole thing is, why would I spend money to buy another plane ticket to go somewhere else to fly to New York when I could not pay any extra money and just have them switch my flight to the next day, like that morning. And it was gonna be like the first flight leaving out, so I don't remember what time, but for the sake of this video, let's just say it was at like 8:45 a.m. or something like that. Like that was gonna be the first flight leaving out to New York. And at first I was kind of like bummed about it, because I'm like, dang, like I was supposed to arrive in New York like later on tonight. Like now I'm gonna arrive tomorrow afternoon, which means like that's like a whole few hours of my trip wasted. And I'm now only gonna have all of Saturday to be in New York, being that I'm flying back out Sunday. Like I'm flying back home on Sunday. So I immediately text Wayne and I let him know like the situation that was going on with like my flight and stuff like that, right? So he texted me back and was like, dang, I was really looking forward to seeing you tonight, but it's cool, like I'm gonna still pick you up from the airport tomorrow. So I'm like, all right, cool. So then he was like, so what are you about to do? Like, are you just about to stay in Charlotte for the night? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I really don't have a choice, because I don't want to spend money to fly somewhere else. I just don't want to do all of that. So he was just like, all right, well, I'm gonna just like hit you up in a little bit. So I'm like, all right, cool. So now I'm like, okay, like what am I about to do? Because like I can't stay in this airport forever. Like really, now I'm a sitting duck. Like I'm literally stuck, right? And back then, around this time, like I had niggas everywhere. Like it was always some nigga somewhere, like like always. So I remember that one of my little boos lives in Charlotte. Now, I don't know how far he stays away from the airport, but I know for sure he lives in Charlotte. So I hit him up, and I pretty much told him that I got off the plane, I just landed, sat in the third, and I pretty much gave him the whole rundown of my situation. I told him how I was supposed to be flying out to New York, but I missed my flight, like the first flight, so then I had to take another flight, which is a standby flight. Like, I'm literally just giving him like the whole like full rundown. So he was like, dang, like, so where you finna stay at for the night? So I'm like, oh, I don't know. I think I'm just gonna have to stay like in the airport, stuff like that. So then he texted me back, and he was like, nah, like, he was like, send me the address to the airport that you're at. So I sent him the address, and he texted me back, and he was like, all right, this only like a couple minutes from my house. Like, I'm gonna send you an Uber, and like, I'm gonna like bring you back here. Like, I'm gonna bring you to my house, and then you can spend the night here. I can't talk. He was like, you can spend the night here, and then in the morning, I get you another Uber like to the airport so that you don't miss your flight. Like, I'm gonna make sure you get there like extra early. So I'm like, shit, all right, cool. You feel me? Like, I'm not tripping. So once, he did all of that, I went down to Arrival so that I could wait for the Uber that he was sending. So I told him like where I was and all of that. So now he's texting me, he's asking me like, oh, do you smoke? Do you drink? This, that, and the third, right? So of course, I'm like, yeah, I smoke a little bit, drink a little bit, do a little bit, you feel me? So, so a few minutes later, the Uber comes, so I hop in the Uber, and now I'm on my way to his house, and we're gonna give him a name. We're gonna call him Bougie. Because he was very much bougie, like, but not bougie in a bad way, like, he was, like, bougie in a good way, if that makes sense. So, mind you, I had never been to Bougie's house before, because this is my first time in Charlotte. Now, I only know Bougie because me and Bougie, we met online as well, and I know, like, oh, you never hung out with this dude before, and this is your first night, you're going over to his house, whatever. Anyway, this was back in the day. So this is back in the day. So now, obviously, at my big age, I'm a lot smarter, but back then I was just doing anything. So I get in the Uber comes, get in the Uber, and now I'm going to Bougie's house. So I didn't, like, how do I explain it? So never mind, moving on. So pulling up to Bougie's house, because like I said, I had never been to his house. I had never even been in Charlotte before. It's my first time ever being in Charlotte. So going to his house, I'm looking around, like, okay, everything looks nice here, and we pull up inside of a gated community, and I'm like, okay, I ain't mad. So he meets us outside. Like, Bougie meets me outside. He grabs my bag and stuff like that. And let me just describe Bougie to y'all. So Bougie, he was about maybe 6'1", 6'2", like low cut fade, and he comes outside wearing a robe. Mind you, it's like maybe 5-6 o'clock in the evening. He goes outside wearing a robe, got a blunt in his hand. Oh, I don't know if I can say that, but too late. But he got like a blunt in his hand and stuff like that. So he gives me a hug, he takes my bag, and he's asking me, how my flight was and how my ride was there, this, that, and the third, right? So then we walk into his house. So we walk into his house, and immediately I start looking around. Like, I started looking around, and his place was very nice. Like, for him to live there by himself, like, he had like a 2-bedroom condo, and for him to live there by himself, like, it was very well decorated, very well organized. Like, it just looked very nice in there. Like, everything was neat and clean. I was like, okay. So, he puts my, he goes and puts my bag down. Like, I'm assuming it was his room. So he goes and puts my bag down in the room, and then he comes out. So now we're just talking. Like, we're talking. We're smoking back and forth. He goes into the kitchen. He comes out with a bottle of Henny, of course. So now, we're drinking, taking shots, just feeling the vibes and stuff. So he asked me if I wanted to like go outside on like the back porch. Not really the porch, but like the balcony. So I'm like, yeah, that's cool. We can go out to the balcony. So, because now it's dark. It's dark outside now. So we go out to the balcony. And when I say, like, it was so, like, beautiful and peaceful out there, if that makes sense. Like, so the way that his balcony was decorated, so he had like these lantern things. He had like these lantern things, so it was like a very orange-ish, like a orangish dimmed kind of light from like the little lanterns that he had out there. He had like some chairs out there, and like the way that his condo was, it was facing like, because it was in the back, so it was facing like a bunch of field. So the only thing was like forest and like trees and just land and land and land. So we're sitting out there, we're smoking, we're taking shots, and it was just very like peaceful out there. So up until that point, like, he never asked me what I was going to New York for, and I never told him. So now that we're, I guess, smoking, chill, stuff like that, he decides he wants to ask me, like, oh yeah, so now he starts asking me, like, oh, what was it you were going to New York for? So then I told him, because I mean, to be real with you, Wayne isn't my boyfriend and Bougie isn't my boyfriend either. So, like, why would I feel like I had to lie? So I told him the truth. I was like, oh, I've been talking to this dude named Wayne. I guess he wants to take it serious or whatever he wants to do. But either way, he wants me to come out to New York for the weekend just to see how it is there, because if we were to become serious and get to a relationship, then like he would want for me to move out there. So then Bougie, he was like, well, did you tell him, like, like the mix up, like your flight and stuff like that? I was like, yeah, I did. And he told me to just let him know, like, when I get on my flight in the morning, so that he can be on his way to the airport, being that he's going to be picking me up from there, like, once I land in New York. So then Bougie, he was like, well, do he know that you here with me? And I'm like, nah, like, he even asked for real. So he was like, so wait a minute. So you told him that you have to catch the flight going to New York in the morning. So where does he think you staying tonight? So then I was like, I don't know. He didn't ask. Like, he asked me if I was gonna like stay at the airport, and I was like, yeah. So he was like, wow, that's crazy. And he starts laughing. And I'm like, what? What's funny? And he was like, yo, you need to stop fucking with these lame ass niggas. So I'm like, what are you talking about? And he was like, well, I'm assuming that you bought your own plane ticket to New York, right? So I was like, yeah. But I mean, I didn't ask him to like buy my plane ticket or nothing like that. And he was like, all right, bet. So you bought your own plane ticket to New York. You told him that, you had a mix up with your flight, whatever the case may be, and you won't be in New York till the morning. And this nigga didn't even get you a hotel room for the night or nothing like that. Like, he didn't send you no money for nothing, like, to make sure that you got something to eat, like, nothing. And I'm like, no. So he starts laughing, and he was like, see, you need to stop fucking with these lame niggas. Right? So I'm like, all right, like, maybe he got a point. Like, no. Nah, because honestly, I wasn't even thinking about it like that until until Bougie brought it up. Like, I honestly was not even thinking about it like that. So we start talking some more, right? So as we're talking, I get a text message from Wayne, right? So he texts me, and the message says, "So are you sure? Are you sure you're getting on that? You're getting on that 8:45 a.m. flight to come out here to New York in the morning?" So I text him back, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get to the airport early, so I don't miss my flight this time." So he was like, "Okay, bet." So then I text him back, and I'm like, well, "Why do you ask?" So then he texted me again, and he was like, "Oh, because me and the guys, like, we finna go to Queens for a few hours, like, just finna like bar hop, stuff like that, and I don't want to be out too late, knowing that I gotta come get you from the airport tomorrow." So I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, like, go out with the guys, go have fun, like, and I'm gonna just hit you when I'm about to board my plane. So he was like, all right, bet. So, the rest of the night goes good. Like, me and Bougie, we just chilling. Eventually, he puts, like, some music on and stuff like that. You feel me? So, yeah. So, of course, with us smoking and drinking, music playing, stuff like that. Eventually, we ended up going into his room. And, yeah, so we do what we do. You feel me? So the morning comes, right? So the morning comes, I get up super early. Now, this is how I knew that Bougie really fucked with me like that. Because not only did I set my alarm, but he also set his alarm because he didn't want to he didn't want to risk both of us oversleeping. He was like, if you sleep through your alarm, then I know I'm not going to sleep through mine. Like, one of us got to get up to wake up the other one. Like, you feel me? Both of us cannot have you missing your flight. So I'm like, shit, you right about that, because I definitely don't want to miss my shit again. So, boom. So I get up, I take a shower, I get dressed. Now, mind you, I forgot to say this. So when I first got to the airport in Baltimore, now mind you, even though this is a weekend trip, I always feel the need to overpack. Like, whenever I'm catching a flight somewhere, I always overpack. I don't know why. I guess I feel like I gotta have like multiple options of like clothes I want to wear, because you never know, right? So I had a suitcase, which was my check bag, and then I also had my carry-on bag. So when I got on the flight to Charlotte at BWI and I checked in my bag, my suitcase was already on the way to New York. So all I had was my carry-on. So luckily I had like an extra outfit in there, and like some travel size toiletry items, stuff like that. So that morning that I woke up, I went ahead, took a shower, changed my clothes, and I wasn't really worried about getting nothing to eat, because I knew that I was going to the airport super early, and I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna get something to eat when I get there. Like, it is what it is. So he calls me an Uber. Well, not calls me Uber, but like he gets me an Uber. I said goodbye to him. He was like, all right, let me know how your trip goes. Like, I really want to know how this shit turn out, because he swore up and down that Wayne was like some lame ass nigga, and that I just don't need to be with him, like, especially because of how he acted when I told him that I was gonna be there until like the next day. Like, he's like, oh, because Bushi felt like Wayne should have at least got me like a hotel room. He could have at least sent me some money to make sure that I could get something to eat, stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, I 100% get where Bougie was coming from, but like I told y'all, like, I wasn't really thinking about that. Like, I wasn't thinking about it like that. So moving on, right? So now I get to the airport. I get there super duper early, right? So now I'm like, all right, bet, it ain't no way I'm finna miss my flight now, right? However, now that I have hours to kill, right? So I go and I get something to eat. And y'all, that airport food is high as hell. Like, high for no reason high. So I go get something to eat, right? So now I'm eating. I also ordered a mimosa. But that mimosa was so good that I ended up having 2 mimosas, right? So keep this in mind. So I was drinking the previous night with Bougie. Now I'm in the airport. I didn't got something to eat, and now I had like 2 mimosas, right? But I did not stop there, and I should have. No, honestly. So So after I got finished eating my food at whatever place I was eating at, I don't remember the name now. But I start like walking around the airport and stuff like that. And now I see another place that I want to go into. So I go into there, I'm sitting at the bar, scrolling through my phone, stuff like that. So I'm scrolling through my phone and I get a shot of something. I think it was like Henny on the rocks or something like that. But I got like maybe two of those. Yeah, I got at least like two. Right? So now I got two Hennies, right? So after I take my shots, I'm sitting there like scrolling through my phone and I'm like, all right, I don't have that much longer left. Like, let me go charge my phone for a little bit. So I go back over to like my gate. I sit at the charging station and I'm charging my phone. As soon as we're about to board, I go ahead and I text Wayne. I let him know like, hey, I'm about to board my flight. So he texted me back and was like, all right, I'm about to be on my way to the airport in a little bit. So I'm like, all right, cool. So mind you, on my way walking onto like the flight, I'm not drunk and I'm not, well, maybe I was tipsy. We'll say that. I was most definitely a little bit tipsy. So go ahead, get my seat on the plane, stuff like that, turn my phone in airplane mode, and boom. So now the plane is taking off. So the plane takes off and I go to sleep. So I wake up once the plane lands. Everyone is like getting their stuff. So I turn my phone back on and I text, what's his name? I text Wayne and I'm like, hey, I landed, are you here yet? So he didn't text me back yet. So I'm like, all right, that's cool. I literally just sent the message. The last time I talked to him, he said that he was about to be on his way. So like, I'm just gonna walk around, do whatever, until he texts me back. So I get my carry-on. I go down to, now mind you, as I get my carry-on and I stand up, y'all, I kid you not, it felt like the plane was still moving, even though it wasn't. Like my whole equilibrium, I think that's how you say it, my whole equilibrium was knocked off. And it's like the room is spinning and I just felt so sick. I was like, what the fuck? But I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna think too much of it. Let me get my carry-on and go to baggage claim, and then I could like find somewhere to sit down or something like that while I wait for Wayne to get here. So that's what I do. But as I'm walking through the airport, I'm like dizzy. Now mind you, I'm not like drunk or nothing like that. I think that whatever alcohol I had, I like slept it off, because it's like I felt fine, but it was like my head was dizzy. It felt like the floor was moving. Like later on in life, I ended up finding out that that's like the symptoms of like motion sickness, like when you have motion sickness. So apparently I had motion sickness and didn't even know what it was at the time. So I go down to baggage claim, I get my bag and all of that, and then Wayne finally texts me back and he was like, all right, I'm like 15 minutes away, like I'll be there in a minute, right? Now mind you, I'm like, all right, so if I texted him before I boarded the plane to let him know that I was on the plane, you feel me, and he told me like, all right, I'm finna be on my way there, like you should have already been here waiting. But whatever, I'm not gonna think too much of it. So I go down to arrivals and like I'm waiting for him. So I'm waiting for him and I find a seat to sit down because I'm like feeling so dizzy. I'm like, all right, I need to get some water. I need to get something to drink. You feel me? Because in my mind, I'm thinking like, okay, I have been drinking a lot. Like I was just drinking the previous night. I was drinking before I got on the plane. Like, I need to drink some water. I need to get something to eat. And then I'm gonna be good, right? So I go to buy some water, and $3 for a bottle of water is crazy. Anyway, but I really needed it. So I get a bottle of water. I'm drinking some water, and I feel a little bit better, but not really. So eventually Wayne, he pulls up, right? So he pulls up and stuff like that, and not to like how do I put it? So me and Wayne also followed each other on Instagram. So let's just say, for the sake of this video, on Instagram, if he is on Instagram like flexing money, if he's on Instagram like flexing all of these nice expensive cars, like if he's on Instagram flexing all of this kind of stuff, I was not expecting him to pull up in a hoopty. Like he literally pulled up in a van that had like the paint chipping off of it. And if you flexing all of this stuff on Instagram, like why are you not, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like your Instagram life and reality, the two are not matching up. But I didn't say nothing, right? So I let him go ahead and take my bag, put my bag in the trunk. So I climb in the passenger seat. He gets in the driver's seat, obviously. So now we're driving and we're going to his house. So he's asking me, you know, how's my flight, this, that, and the third. How did I like it in Charlotte for the night? I'm telling him like, oh, it's cool, you know. And he didn't really ask too much. Like he did, but he didn't. Like he was just like, oh, like, so what did you do last night? I'm like, oh, nothing. Like I pretty much just chilled, you know, until my flight in the morning, and I left it at that. And like I said before, even though like what's his name, Wayne wasn't my boyfriend, I just didn't feel comfortable telling him like, oh yeah, you know, I was at Bougie's house last night and we was smoking, we was drinking, but like, no, I just didn't feel the need to tell him all of that. So we're driving and I'm looking out the window and I'm seeing like, so as we're driving by, I see like on like a big hill, I see like mansions on a hill, and I'm like, oh, this is nice, you feel me? So it's like we're talking to each other here and there. He got the music playing but it's really low, you know, nothing too crazy is going on. So all of a sudden I hear like a vibrating noise. So I of course like immediately looked to where the noise was coming from, and I realized that his phone was sitting in the cup holder. So his phone is vibrating and he picks it up. He looks at it to see who's calling, and then he like hit the button. You like, y'all know how iPhones used to have like the button on the side so you can like silence a call or like send it to voicemail and stuff like that. So he hit that button. Now whether he silenced it or sent it to voicemail, I don't know. But he looks at it, sees who it is, hits the button on the side, and then puts it back in the cup holder. So so he continues to drive, and he don't say nothing about it. So shit, I don't say nothing about it. I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking, all right, fuck, it's not my business. Like, you feel me? It's not my business who's calling this man. So a few minutes go by, and his phone starts vibrating again. And he did the same thing. He picks it up, looks at it to see who it is, hits the button on the side. But this time, instead of putting his phone back in the cup holder, he grabs it and puts it on his lap, right? So now it's just in his lap. So he starts asking me like questions about, like, not really questions, like he just starts telling me like, oh yeah, you know, we're gonna have fun, like I expected for you to come like last night, but since you came today, like it's cool, like so he starts saying stuff like what was it saying? Oh yeah, he starts saying stuff like, you know, we gonna have a good time, we gonna have some fun, like I expected for you to come last night, but since you came today, like it's cool, like we still gonna have a good time, like I got a bottle of Henny back at the house, like, you know, I got like some trees and stuff like that, so like we can smoke, we can drink, like yeah, like shit finna be lit, like you hungry? And I was like, yeah, I'm hungry. Like, we can get something to eat. He's like, all right, bet. Like, because Popeyes, they got this deal going on right now. And as he's talking, he picks up his phone, looks at it, clicks the button again, puts his phone down. It was like, yeah, so Popeyes, they got this deal going on. And what time is it? It's like 11, and he's like, what time is it? And I look at the time, and let's just say it was like 11:40 something. He was like, oh, okay, yeah, they should still be doing the deal right now. Like, come on, like, we finna go get some Popeyes, get something to eat, and then like we finna go back to my house. So I'm like, okay, cool. So we still continue to talk, conversation is good, the vibes are good. Like, he didn't make me feel uncomfortable, didn't make me feel weird or anything like that, right? Everything's going smooth. However, I do notice that every now and then he will look at his phone. So every now and then he's looking at his phone, he'll put it down, look at it again, put it down, but it wasn't all the time. Like, it was just like every couple minutes or so. So now we get to Popeyes. And he pulls up in the drive-thru, and we're looking at the menu. So he's asking me, what do I want? So I'm telling him what I want. He's like, okay, bet, yeah. And I want this, that, the third. Like, we're basically talking about what we're going to eat. So he's telling me like what he wants to eat and stuff like that. And yeah, so we get up to like the part where you order. So he's ordering our food, and now he's like pulling up a little bit because there's also like, because we're in the drive-thru, so there's also like cars in front of us. So while we're in line, we're still talking. However, I notice again he looks at his phone, right? So he looks down at his phone, picks it back up, looks at it, hits the button on the side, right? So we're talking, and he kept doing that ever so often, kept hitting the button, right? But because his phone is not in the cup holder anymore, I don't know if his phone is vibrating and somebody is calling him. I don't know. And at the time while this is happening, like, it's not something that I noticed right away because I was so into the conversation that we were having, right? Like, I was paying attention to the conversation, so I really wasn't paying attention. Like, in my mind, I wasn't thinking like, oh my God, somebody keeps calling this man, like, who's blowing his phone up? Like, you feel me? Like, I wasn't even thinking about it like that, but it was definitely something that I noticed. So after we get our food, we go back to his place. So we pull up to his place, and the outside looked like a hotel. So I said that. I was like, you live in a hotel? And he was like, nah, like, it used to be a hotel, but they remodeled it and they changed it to an apartment complex. So I'm like, oh shit, that's dope. He was like, right? Like, he's like, but the outside still looks like a hotel, and the inside still looks like a hotel as well. Like, don't worry, like, you'll see when you get in there. So I'm like, all right, cool. So we get out, he grabs my suitcase and stuff like that. He grabs my suitcase, and he, like, cause my carry-on was like a duffel bag. So he grabs my suitcase and my carry-on, right? But he puts the straps of my carry-on, he puts it like over my suitcase, like over the, the part that you pull up and roll. So he puts it over that. So we're walking up to the door, and as we're walking up to the door, there's a man coming out of the building, right? And I'm assuming he's walking out to like go smoke a cigarette or something like that, because he had like a cigarette in his mouth, and I seen like a lighter in his hand. So he walks out. And they start talking about something, like the guy and Wayne, like they start talking, right? So then Wayne was asking him, is he at the front desk today? So the dude was like, yeah, he's in there. So what's his name? Wayne, he was like, all right, bet, because like I need to go pay my rent. Like, I was trying to pay my rent earlier this morning, but wasn't nobody behind the front desk. So the dude, he was like, oh well, he's behind there now. Like, I was just in there paying mine. So then Wayne, he was like, all right, bet, good luck. So they dap each other up, and then we walk up to the door. Wayne takes out a key, unlocks the door, opens the door, and then I walk in, and then he walks in behind me. And he was right. Like, the inside looked exactly like a hotel lobby. Exactly like it. The front desk, which I assume is like their office, like most apartment complexes have, their front desk was pretty much their office. So so me and Wayne, we walk over to the front desk. So we walk over to the front desk and he's in front of me. So the front desk had like a sliding glass door. You know, the kind that you see in like doctor's offices? It was exactly like that. So a guy walks up to the front counter and he slides the glass open. So Wayne starts taking out money and counting it. I'm assuming this is what he's like. I'm assuming he's paying his rent. So I take like two steps back to give them some privacy because I don't want to be like all up on him, while he's trying to handle his business. So I take like two steps back. And Wayne, he's counting out his money, and he's telling the dude the same thing he told the dude outside. He was saying that he wanted to pay his rent because he was trying to pay it earlier, but like there was nobody up at the front desk. So the guy behind the front desk is saying like basically giving an explanation like, oh, he had to do this or he was somewhere. It was some excuse he gave that don't really matter. So after Wayne is done paying his rent, the guy, he was like, so the guy looks at me, and I guess this was the first time that he realized that I was with Wayne. Because mind you, when Wayne walked up to the counter and started taking out his money, I immediately took, like two steps back to give him his privacy. So when the guy looked at me, I guess he realized that I was with Wayne and not that I was just, in line behind him. So the guy looks at me and he looks back up at Wayne, and he was like, hey, that girl is still sitting outside your apartment. Like, she's been out there ever since you left. And Wayne, he was like, huh? What girl? And the guy behind the desk, he's like, that girl. Like, I went up there to try to get her to leave. Like, so-and-so went up there to try to get her to leave. Like, she won't leave. Like, we keep telling her that if she don't get off the premises, then we're going to call the police on her. And she's not going anywhere. And Wayne, he's like, but what girl? And then the guy at the front desk says, we're going to call her crazy. And he's like, crazy. And he was like, it's crazy. So if you don't go up there and tell her that she has to leave because she's not allowed to be on the premises, then we're going to call the police. Because, like, I don't know what y'all got going on. That's not really my business, but so-and-so said that she's not allowed to be around here. So if he looks on the cameras and sees that she was let into the building and that she's in here, like, that's going to be my ass. So either you tell her to leave or we're going to have to call the police and they're going to have to force her to leave. So Wayne, he's like, man, I done told that girl to stop coming around here. Like, I don't know why she's here. He was like, so how long she been sitting outside my door? And the dude was like, she been here ever since you left. So do you want us to call the police or what are you going to do? So Wayne was like, nah, like, don't call the police. Like, I'm going to go talk to her. Like, I'm going to get her to leave. So the guy was like, all right. He's like, all right. And then he steps back, closes the glass back. So then Wayne looks at me and he was like, because he still had my suitcase. So he was like, man, just come on. And he's about to walk me back outside. But then he stops and turns around. He was like, you know what? Like, come on. Let's just go back to the lobby. Because, like, so when you walk in, it's the lobby. And then you walk down the hallway. And then there's the front desk. So we go back down the hallway. And we go into the lobby. So Wayne, he hands me my suitcase, hands me my carry-on, and he was like, all right, man, like, just sit here. Like, I'm going to just run up there real quick, run up the stairs real quick, and, like, just let her know that she got to go or they're going to call the police, right? So I'm asking him, I'm like, well, who is it? Like, who is she? So he was like, man, just... I'm gonna tell you in a minute. All right, like just let me go handle this real quick, so they don't like call the police on her or nothing. So I'm like, all right, shit, do you? Like, I'm not tripping. because this isn't my boyfriend, right? Now, granted, if this was my man, if this was someone that I was talking to like that, oh yeah, we finna be going up them stairs together. Cause I want to know who the fuck this is. But this isn't my boyfriend. This isn't nobody that I'm talking to like that. So I'm like, all right, well shit, do you then? So I sit down and I'm like scrolling through my phone. So, I mean, I guess eventually she ended up coming down the stairs, but I didn't see her because I was on my phone. So a few minutes later, Wayne comes back down. He was like, all right. He was like, all right, she's gone. Like, come on, we can go upstairs now. So he grabs my suitcase. And they didn't have no elevator. For it to look like a hotel and for it to be all these floors, they did not have no elevator, and I was annoyed. But thankfully, Wayne was gentleman-like enough to carry my bags up all those flights of stairs. So yeah, so I'm gonna stop this story time here. This is part 1, and yeah, so stay tuned for part 2. Thank you guys for watching my video. Thank you for clicking on my video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.